Welcome back to Explain America. This is your host, Kyle Becker. Will James Comey face justice? That is the question on MAGA supporters' minds after the former FBI director was indicted by a grand jury on Thursday. He is going to face charges of perjury and obstruction of justice, potentially 5 years in prison. But it all comes down to who is the judge in the case, who is the jury going to be, and we're going to break this down because it is absolutely shocking what we have in front of us. But of course, should we all be shocked? That's a rhetorical question. So please like, share, and comment at Explain America. We appreciate your support for common sense journalism. So how many cases are we going to see where Biden officials, Obama officials, they either get a slap on the wrist and they don't really face true accountability? It seems like that is our systemic bias in our judicial system, and it is really enough is enough. So when James Comey was indicted by a grand jury on Thursday, there is a glimmer of hope that a corrupt official would finally face some kind of accountability for his efforts to traitorously, in a lot of people's opinion, undermine a presidential candidate, subject the country to a hoax for 2 years, and all to smear and undermine a sitting president of the United States that was elected, period, by a majority of the American people in our electoral college. So, James Comey, who is he going to be standing before? That would be a Biden judge. His name is Michael S. Nachmanoff. He was a Biden appointee and a former public defender. He was confirmed with a narrow vote, and that would be 3 Republican senators, including, of course, Senator Lindsey Graham. And that vote was 52 to 46. So the DOJ still has an uphill battle in securing a conviction. The court records revealed the grand jury decision was not unanimous. It's in the Alexandria district of Virginia, and that is deep blue. So we've got a lot of issues with this case. And a little bit of deeper background on this is Nachmanoff did work on a Russia hoax case, or you could call it a Ukraine corruption case that involved Biden. He oversaw the pre-trial detention and granted bond in the amount of $1 million to Lev Parnas and Igor Furman, who we know were clients of Rudy Giuliani, and they were charged with concealing foreign donations. In October 2021, Parnas was eventually found guilty in a U.S. federal court on 6 counts related to illegal donations to the 2020 campaign of Donald Trump. That person, Parnas, was sentenced to 20 months in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and $2.3 million in restitution on June 29, 2022. So he did handle the case here, and that is not enough of a smoking gun to say he will definitely refuse to exercise justice in this case, to comport himself with integrity. But it is a red flag that should have everybody concerned and should be watching his court case like a hawk to make sure that there is due diligence. But of course, as we saw in New York with the criminal cases against him, as we saw with Judge Engoron, other judges that have handled Trump cases, it has been an absolute clown show, and a lot of violations of his rights, evidence that wasn't allowed to be presented, that was exculpatory, witnesses that weren't allowed to speak. We've seen how judges influence trials in an unfair way. So you'll have to stay along with the rest of us to keep an eye on this case. And Judge Nachmanoff, let's make sure that this guy is subjected to scrutiny, because all eyes are going to be on this case. And if he wants to impugn the court with bogus motions and actions of like submitting or not allowing things into evidence that are clear-cut evidence against Comey, other sort of trial machinations, well, he's just going to be smearing the entire judicial system. But as we know from Democrats and their judicial appointees, they are not above that. How many rogue and activist judges have we seen trample on our judicial system already just this year under the Trump administration? So weigh in with your thoughts. Do you think there's a chance that Comey could get some kind of justice and accountability for his actions that are well documented? You weigh in with your thoughts below. We appreciate hearing from you at Explain America.